Hey, everybody. It is your girl, Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Ava Cherie, the Inspire. And this is part 2 of my previous post about clarity and knowing the difference between celibacy and abstinence. I'm taking a deeper dive into what those temptations look like, what that deliverance looks like, what the healing journey looks like, and more importantly, what your spiritual journey will look like. And now we're going to talk about part 2. And this is just my testimonies. I'm not saying that what is going to take place in someone else's life, but I just want to be one of the guards at the gate to forewarn anyone who is going through this process, because you're in a spiritual sensitive nature. And I want your posture to be wise, your spiritual eyes to be open, your spiritual ears to be unclogged so that you may hear and use discernment in the Lord. And what that looked like for me was elevating in my spiritual nature and things coming at me that had never come at me before. And taking a hard look at that and the enemy making a joke and a mockery of God's process in me. And because I was naive, I was protected, thank God. And sometimes I realized that my feisty, rebellious self, the little fighter, the no-nonsense truth teller, was part of my natural flesh personality and characteristics. And when God started to refine me and fine-tune me, it would be part of my spiritual gifts that he could trust me with. So when the tempter tried to tempt me in the church, I was sought after by highly recognizable pastors. And it was on the East Coast. And it was interesting, but I'm going to say this. I didn't play around. And I didn't let people play in my face, regardless to who you were. I stood on righteousness and I called it out. I had gotten by people avoiding me because of that. But when the tempter is using somebody that's already committing acts of sin, you're just another part of their prey. You're just another part of their conquering quest. Doesn't matter. The tempter says, go higher, elevate higher. Ooh, that's going to be a great challenge for you. That's going to add another pride and ego stripe on your back. That's going to be another thing you can hide. So when the pastors came to me, they were already in their committed acts of sin, being unrighteous on the pulpit, standing before their congregation lying. I just never fooled with that type of person. So I handled them like I would handle a person in the streets. And they loved it. They ate it up. And I thought it made me stronger, was able to discern more. I thought all these things. This is during that 8-year celibate phase, right? I thought I was establishing real talk relationships with pastors so that we could heal people in the church that was struggling with some things that I may not have struggled with, but I can truth tell too. And I was being used in the ministry because people were gloating and saying, oh, she coming, you're going to speak to this, you're going to heal this, you're going to do this. And so I didn't like clicks anyway, as I told you previously. So I wasn't really hyped about all of the appointments in the church and my people assigning me to over ministries and stuff. I thought it was kind of janky because they didn't know me. They needed the truth teller assigned to certain posts to get away with what they were doing. Now, this was all in my 20s and 30s. I didn't get church hurt. I just handled them literally like they was on the street because they was acting like they was on the street. Because I felt like people are people. They're going to do anything. And we all come to a place of healing because we're broken. So I didn't condemn or judge. I just thought it was funny. But then there was something else that I was missing. And I've talked about it in every vlog almost. That was the spirit of abandonment and rejection. So these masterful people on the pulpits, some people, the tempter uses them to see your weakness, magnify it. And they knew that it was something about me saying I was a loner. I didn't belong to a clique. They knew it was something. I think the tempter just gives them an eye to see our broken places. And so because I didn't belong to a clique, it actually didn't help me. It actually helped them because now they knew I wouldn't talk to too many people. So I was going to keep it under lock and key because of my commitment and loyalty and respect to others. Y'all follow me? And okay. So from there, they used that little girl that would develop this armor to ward off being homeless as a teen mom, being assaulted, going through all these things. They used my clarity on acceptance and not judging people's situations and circumstances to coerce me into this clique. And the thing that kept me, and the thing that I'm most grateful and proud of God in me, is that none of that fazed me. Like none of it moved me to say I'm under this, that, I belong to such and such, because I belong to God, okay? And that might be out of order for some. But for me, if it wasn't operating a fivefold ministry, if it wasn't feeding my soul, if it wasn't feeding my spirit, if you were underutilizing people's gifts in the ministry, if you were suppressing and oppressing your people, if these churches are out here isolating people because they're not crumbling and going along with the fold of the foolery, then I was cool. So I was grateful for all that I had gone through in the streets. I was grateful for the cliques that I had been around that taught me how to be a thoroughbred, 100% 10 toes down, 100% loyal and committed and dedicated to something. First with myself and my character, two with what I stood for, because I took that everywhere I went. Church, concert, I don't care where I'm at. Everybody knows. So when I did that, I'm in the private meetings with some of the esteemed people. I'm watching and hearing exceptions to the rules that was foul. I'm talking about foul. And so these pastors, 3 were divorced, 1 was single, and 1 was married. And the last one was borderline separated / still married / whatever. So, yeah. But I'm going to say this. I thought I had befriended people in the church to have real talks. Real things revealed for the glory of God to help other people that were sitting in the pews heavily laden and burdened. Concealment is a full-time job in church. So I knew I was a chain breaker. I knew God was brought me to different territories and churches for correction. I knew God was going to use everything about me, good and bad. I came to the altar prepared and ready. I was never looking for an assignment in the church. I was only looking to let God's word penetrate my spirit and grow and develop me to where I was even worthy to speak. And when they seen that, child, they was after me. And I ain't caused no disruption. You ain't gonna hear about me going to churches, acting no fool, getting put out, causing controversy, causing a whole bunch of backbiting gossip. I'm not that way to this day. I just didn't play with you and I stepped to you and I kept it moving. If you don't choose to move, if you don't choose to yield, if you don't choose to be obedient to God, I'm cool. But what we not gonna do, you're not gonna pull me down with you. So as a result of that, during that process, for me to have to say, God, separate me, pull me out of the lion's den, pull me from amongst these wolves. Before that happened, I had seen Hennessy, drinking, weed smoking, cigarette smoking, idolatry, extramarital, prostitution. Ah, God, I can't even name it all. I seen homosexuality. I seen it all inside the church with the deacons, so-and-sos, the pastors. And I just had real talk with them to let them know that I wasn't judging. And they gave me every reason why God wasn't going to punish them, why He approved, why we were forgiven, how all we had to do was repent, how God didn't say we couldn't have no fun. Oh, let's not even talk about the abusers in the church. Oh, they was abusing, separated and divorced from knocking somebody's head off, knocking their wives and their children's heads off, punching them in the face. I'm talking about felony abuse. Being disrespectful and abusing some of the leaders in the church, smacking them in their face like they was their child. Now, see, it's one thing about me. I thought I was going to pledge Delta because a lot of the women around me growing up in my family and outside my family were Deltas, right? So when I moved to, this is not off topic. When I moved to Delaware, the first thing I did was went to University of Delaware to sign up for, to become a Delta. I didn't know the spiritual corruptiveness of it, but all goes back to the root of belonging, the spirit of needing to belong, right? To validate that I am stronger and better than my situations, right? All in my head. So I went, and by the grace of God, God had his hand on my life. They say he has his hands on fools and babies' lives because we don't know. We lack knowledge. So I went in, and this young lady said to me, "Oh, you have 4 children? Are you ready to get your tail whooped? We're going to smack you around and we're going to do different things to you if you don't comply whenever we ask. So I don't know. How do you feel about that, knowing that you have children?" And I looked at her that night. I was at a party and I said, "Oh, baby, I go home and straighten kids out. I wish I would, as an adult, let somebody put their hands on me like I'm their child. I know who my mother and father is. I wish I would let a peer or somebody under me ever put their hands on me for the goal of association. This is not sisterhood." I said, "You got the right one, but you know what? We ain't got to talk about this ever again because you will never put your hands on me and call it in the name of anything." And you can find really good books out and testimonies on YouTube about the testimony of these sororities and these fraternities. I know some ugly truths about that. I'm not going to get too deep into that ever, probably, unless I do a online interview with some people that's going to actually be brave enough to tell their testimony. But let me tell you, God spared me because he spared me from jail time. He spared me from idolatry. He spared me from sorcery, witchcraft. He spared me in that aspect. And so all of that to say, don't get so quick to get clicked up because, I think I'm going to have to come back and do a part two to this. Yeah, because I didn't anticipate going this long on this one. All right, until next time, feast on this. God's love and God's peace to you all. This is your girl, Ava Cherie.